Hi, and welcome to the walk around of this magnificent fur-wear red 190 SL. And of course, I'm talking about a Mercedes-Benz. Is there anything more beautiful in automotive history than the 190 SL? I claim that if you ask 100 women, let's say over 50, which is the most beautiful car of the 20th century, more than 70% will say the 190 SL. And why is that? The lines are round. It's a gentle design where the front wing finishes in a light. So here we come out of a period where the cars had separate headlights. And here they started to design the car as a sports car. And this car has the front and the rear, including exactly the same bumpers as the 300 SL. And the 300 SL was a showcase for Mercedes that they were still there, that they were still able to build the fastest and the best car in the world. So when the American importer at the time said to Mercedes, listen, we are a country of big volume and we want to make big bucks, make us a car that we can sell in big volumes. Mercedes developed this. This is not an extreme sports car. This is not a technological showcase. This is a money-making product. And I'll tell you what, it has been a money-making product ever since. So Mercedes and the importer at the time, I think it was Hoffman, made a lot of money with this. Because basically, you have a simple self-carrying body and you have a 4-cylinder engine. Nothing special there. Under the hood, our little 4-cylinder engine has two very big, very complicated carburetors made by the producer Solex. And they made it so complicated because back in the day, of course, the 300 had injection, but that was not a technology that was widely available. It wasn't standard. They still had to work with carburetors. So here you have the air intake. The air intake mixes fresh air with gas that is aspirated here, and in there you have a mixture of air and gas in such a way that the engine develops a little bit more horsepower than on the original Berliner car, because they claim that this was Sportlight SL, a sports car. So 100 PS on paper and a good gearbox, excellent seats, a very easy opening soft top. Sometimes you have a hard top. It's not very easy to use, and frankly, I wouldn't recommend it. But the soft top works really well. For design of the 50s, it was modern, efficient, and good. You have rolling up windows. Remember, we are in the 50s. If you bought an MGA, you had to put your window on the door. Here you could mount the window. And you could take this car for a trip. And that trip could be a coast-to-coast trip in the US. So a lot of these cars have worked really hard. And starting in the 50s, they were a symbol of luxury and success. But then came the new model in the 60s, and these cars started to feel slow. And a lot of people still today tell me that the 190 SL is a car that is slow. Well, it is slow. If you change gear at 2000 rounds per minute, 2000 RPM, it is slow because the carburetor is built with 2 chambers, and the second one only opens at about 4,000 RPM. So if you're going to change gear at 2,000, you only use half the potential of the engine. You can do that, it's okay. So walk around car. But if you want to drive fast, you have to drive over 4,000 RPM. So back to the 60s and then later on the 70s. In the 70s, these cars were 20 years old. This is metal. Metal rusts. In America, you have sunny parts, you have moisty parts, and the cars were scattered all over the country. In Europe, we had salt on the road, and little was left of these cars. And people that know or that are knowledgeable about the 70s, not me because I was born in the 70s, so I wouldn't know, but they claim that these cars, on average, had more than 300,000 kilometers per car. Maybe this one as well. I want to refer to my video about mileage, about the importance of kilometers. If there are enough requests, I'll do it in English, but we did it in Dutch. So in the beginning of the 80s, there were very few cars here in Europe. And people started to bring them with them in their luggage, just a joke, but they would send them here in a container from the US to have them restored because Europe didn't have any cars anymore. And the Mercedes fans would say like, yeah, I want one with as little rust as possible. So in the 80s came in the first cars. The value of the car at the time in the US was about, I'm gonna say something, $10,000. Can be a little bit more, a little bit less, $10,000 for a rust bucket. So the car was worn, hood, maybe the metal was there, no hood, the seats completely worn, rust damages, maybe an accident or two. And then they would come in and people would restore them to this condition. This is foyer red and completely restored. So all the chrome work new, leather new, hood new, engine bay new, underneath all new, new tires, new hubcaps, new chrome work in the back. And the most important and most difficult thing to do is the metal. On the 190 SL, mechanics are not a big deal. You're in the 50s, 4-cylinder. The carburetor is a little bit more complicated, so that's really a job for a specialist, but the rest is just plain work. And then the value started rising because all of a sudden, at the end of the 80s, people would find 190 SLs in this condition. And if you put 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 hours in a car, you're not gonna sell for $10,000 or 10,000 euros. You're gonna look for 60, 70 and lose on the project. But the car industry, the classic car industry, found that there was a new public, the same customer as in the 50s and beginning of the 60s, who wanted this car in a pristine condition, and they would pay for it. So a whole new industry that made money with the 190 SL was born. And this I know for myself because I lived it. Until 2010, more or less, all the cars were sent to Europe, and you couldn't find a 190 SL anymore in the US, even a rust bucket, under $25,000. Then the car would arrive here, and the restoration would cost, at the beginning, 60, 70, and then prices went up because the labor cost went up, and VAT went up, and the cost of the parts went up. And at a certain point, you couldn't restore a 190 SL under 100,000 euros. So 100,000 euros, $25,000 for the acquisition, some transport, let's say 25,000 euros, and then the margin for the professional. So these cars would sell for anywhere between 150 and 200k euros. And there you have it. That's the business model of the 190. Prices then went up in the US, and the cars were no longer exported to Europe. The professionals who restored the American cars stopped doing the 190, because with the aging of the car, we're now talking about a 50-year-old car, also the customers aged. And youngsters, they like the 190, but a little bit less than their parents. So demand was shrinking. And that's my point. It's been so difficult now to find a car that's been professionally restored like this one, that this is an excellent opportunity for someone who wants a professional restoration completely ready. You don't have to wait, you don't have to find a supplier for the restoration. This car is completely ready. It has a tacho in kilometers, it's the original color, it has the Solex carburetors, everything is correct. And it's available immediately. So you don't have to go buy a project in the US and bring it over. You have it here available at Oldtimerfarm in Aalter. We've tested it, we've driven it, it's registered of course, it's completely right and available maybe for you. Thank you for your attention.